Great. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I'm presenting this for our account manager, Lise Crawford with Epicor. And we're going to focus it on our new Excel Connect 7 platform. You guys may be familiar with our current Excel Connect reporting product. The focus is built around financials today. Going forward, the new product reaches across all of Epicor. So you'll find that they'll give you an opportunity to not only create financial reports, but extend it to other areas of reporting that your organization might need. All right. So with that, we're going to get started. We're going to go through just a couple of moments in PowerPoint, and then we'll spend the remaining portion of the time actually demonstrating the product. This is kind of a prelude to a presentation I'm doing this next week in Nashville. In Insights, so you guys are going to get a sneak peek at some of the product that's going to be available in the next 30 days or so. Excel Connect 7, no longer just a financial reporting solution. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So what we talk about is, of course, our agenda is to talk about the business problems a lot of the Epicor organizations face today when they want to do reporting, and some of the different things we can do to assist that. Who those users typically are, and what we're going to do to help them solve some of those pains. So when we talk about that, so what we know is that there's lots of data that we have available coming out of the systems, and they're not all exclusive to Epicor, of course, right? We may have some other legacy systems that we're still utilizing data out of, and so we want to be able to not only access the data that's available in Epicor and all of it, we would like to also be able to access that data that's available in other legacy systems. And we'll demonstrate how we can do that in our presentation today. When we talk about Excel Connect 7, it's not here to replace that dashboarding tool. It's designed to really help those that are bringing information out of those BAQ dashboards or other dashboarding tools they're using. It's not uncommon when we see a dashboard, it's like that dashboard on our car, right? When we see a red light that pops up, it doesn't tell us exactly what's happening, but it does tell us we have a problem. And when we see something in that dashboard that's a problem, or maybe it's something, it's an opportunity, then we want to be able to drill down into that. And what we find is a lot of the folks will most often use Excel to do that with. So we're going to show the ability to combine data out of dashboards, but then also be able to bring that into Excel Connect and mash that together with their Epicor data. Why do we use Excel to do that with? Because everyone on the call probably has used Excel today, right? With more than 1 billion users, using Excel as the interface for clients gives them the ability to quickly adapt or adopt an Excel Connect 7 report and make the most out of it. It doesn't require hours and hours and hours of time to get access to that information, right? So with that being said, we've got some great little typical in the day of the life recording that I'm going to share with you after this with Lise. She'll be able to forward that to everybody that attended. And with that, I'm going to see if we can get that to play in our system. And it may or may not, but I'm going to show the live demo in any case, so to give us a chance to we'll just go ahead and show it in actual live. But what we want to do is to be able to demonstrate how Excel Connect 7, the new Excel Connect platform, connects you to all of your Epicor Excel data, Epicor data or any Excel data, gives access to the report data to the end users, the business users, the people that are able to take and answer questions, and give the ability to not only drill down but also create new ad hoc report capability. And we'll demonstrate that in the presentation itself. One of the things we want people to think about before we jump into it is kind of identify who you are in the audience, right? And so we typically divide that into 2 different groups. One is the business user, and that's the person that's consuming reports, right? They want to be able to interact with data, reports, and they want to be able to do that even offline, right? They don't want to have to be confined to the database. They want to be able to take their data and use it anywhere they need to. a plane, a train, an automobile. Of course, they could do so inside the organization as well. And then you have that business analyst. Those are the guys that are spending their time helping to support the business user, pulling the data together, creating the analysis that people want to use. And those guys are going to be connected directly to the data and have the ability to create reports and to be able to share those with the end users, right? So when we think of the Excel Connect business user, those are what we call an Excel Connect remote users. And really those are defined as people that want to use anything that's in Excel data, be able to drill down to interactive reports, create new reports from that data, and they're going to do that all offline. They don't actually have to have a connection to an Epicor database. The Excel Connect Live user is going to provide them with the information they need. And that's the systems analyst, the person we clearly identified. So when we get into the presentation, we'll start with, this is what an Excel Connect remote user would do, and then we'll, more clearly identify what the differences are between the two. Both have the exact same functionality. Just think about how they use information. A live user would be someone who connects to the data. A remote user has all the same functionality, but is going to work with it remotely, the ability to take it off-site. Great. So let's jump in, and we'll talk about how to solve those key problems. Eliminating that exporting and copying and pasting of data, eliminating just a static report, where I have just an Excel report that I have questions and I need to get the answers to. Then, of course, demonstrating how we share these reports across the entire organization, right? And then I'll leave time for questions at the end, and we'll have our chat menu on the right-hand side, or a question menu, excuse me, and you can answer or ask questions there. I do encourage you, as we're moving through the presentation, to go ahead and post your questions as they come up. Don't wait till the end, because I'll see the questions up on my other screen, and if I can, I will try to direct the demonstration to include your question, or quickly be able to identify something I want to expand on to help answer your question as well. So don't wait to enter questions. Go ahead and ask those as we move through the presentation, and then I'll, of course, leave time at the end for questions. Right? Great. So let's go ahead and jump into the solution itself, and we're going to find ourselves in Office 2016, right? And so in my example, I'm in Office 2016. You see the menu up on the top there. That should be pretty familiar with guys that are using Excel, right? I bet there's a couple of us that have used that during this week at least. And I'm in Office 2016. And on the left-hand side, you see we've got our Excel Connect ribbon. And that's our new Excel Connect 7 interface. And you'll see that we've got connections to all of our ERP data, whether it's financial data, material management, production, sales. Remember, we started out the presentation talking about how Excel Connect is no longer just a financial reporting solution. It now is going to extend and give you the ability to work with all the information in the organization. Okay, so I'm going to start out with the kind of our story is I'm the marketing manager, and I've created this report to help me manage information that's coming out of a CRM system. Now, my CRM data is not inside of Epicor. It's actually outside because I'm using some other system to do that. But what I want to do is to be able to combine information that's coming out of my CRM system and information that's coming directly out of Epicor. In this example, I'm a remote user. I'm not connected directly to the data, but someone else has created the report and shared it with me, okay? And so now I want to do some additional analysis. As the marketing manager, I want to see what campaigns I'm running that are really making a big impact on the organization, right? Because we want to figure out what marketing dollars are doing for us. We spend a lot of money in that, and I want to see exactly how that happens. So I can see in this example, I've got my different campaigns, and I can change, and I can look at customer relationships, and it updates my information, it updates my chart on the side, and I can see all the different ones as we switch through the different drop downs, right? The first thing that comes to mind, what would be really beneficial is if I could take the same report and see all of those in the same report compared, so I can do a comparative analysis. And when I do that, I'm going to drag it across, just like I would another Excel form, and oh, these are connected to data. And I'm going to change my drop down, and that's going to let me open up a different view of the data. So now I'm not just looking at one at a time. I'm able to really do a comparative analysis. And so I can look at the data at the top that's coming out of a CRM system. It's an export into Excel. So I'm working with local Excel data, and I'm also working with data that came directly out of Epicor, right? And so the first thing I notice is our most compelling marketing campaigns are clearly around our customer relationships, existing customers. That shouldn't be any surprise. It's always easier to win over an existing customer or sell an existing customer than it is to add a new one. But the thing I see is of all the opportunities we're creating, I've got 11 that are kind of stuck in the contact the prospect quote stage, right? And so most of those are sitting in our customer relations information. So now this is where, in a typical example, we want to find that, hey, I've got questions. Why is that the case? And the reason why is, we need to find out, right? So how would I do that in Excel today? Well, I wouldn't have the data. I would have to go back to my systems analyst or the report creator and say, hey, can you send me that information, the detail on that out of the system so I can figure out what's going on, right? In Excel Connect 7, because we have the ability to drill down whether we're directly connected to the data or not, as a remote user or even as a live user where we are, I can right-click on that information I have a question about, and now I want to drill down. And so when I drill down to that, I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to drill down to just table information, and this is pulling data that was coming directly out of our Epicor 10.1 database, right? And so I can see all the information that's part of our quote entry. And I'm just going to scroll to the right because the first thing that comes to mind for me is who's the salesperson. And the first thing I see is, wow, it's all one particular salesperson. So now when I got questions, I'm going to go out and say, hey, how do I now, get some answers to this? Or what's the next, thing I want to do in the organization to make an impact? Well, I'm going to send the report over to my VP of sales, and he also has an Excel Connect remote license, and so the data is still going to be useful to him. And so instead of just looking at the lead management status, he's going to open up and look at his sales forecast. And there he can see all the different salespeople he has working for him, and what opportunities are out there, what quotes are out there. And this is all data that's coming directly from the system. The VP of Sales happens to be connected to the system. He's an Excel Connect Live user, so not only does he have all the data that's part of the report, but if he wanted to pull new data in, he could as well. So now he wants to go in and look at Scott, and I can see in my report, if I look at the different stages, the worst case, Scott has the largest percentage of opportunities in the worst case stage. So we're losing opportunities here. So what do I want to do with Scott? I'm going to right click and I'm going to drill down on that information. And here I'm going to bring it back as a pivot table. And again, this is, I could be doing this connected to the data live, or I can be doing it as a remote user, wherever I'm at, because the data travels inside the report. So I see that all the reports and all the dates on them. And really what I want to find out is the reason description, right? Let's find out exactly why those worst case, quotes are in the worst case scenario, right? So I'm going to drag in the reason descriptions. And the first thing I see is the largest percentage of them are we could not meet delivery dates, right? Well, that's an important information I'm curious about. And here I can even double click and say, well, that's great. Let me see the exact quotes we're looking at that are going to help me identify why we can't deliver any of this information, right? So I'm going to scroll across until I get over to quotes, and it's going to give me my quotes. And so when I do that, there's the quotes involved that we could not meet the reason description. And so now, whether I'm connected to the data or I'm a remote user, I have the ability to not only manipulate the report and drill down and get additional information, but because now the new Excel Connect 7 platform allows every user to be a report builder if they so desire. I'm going to actually create a little ad hoc report because I can see the value that I'm missing, right, in the quote And over a total, it's $85,000, almost $86,000 that we can't deliver. My question is, if I can't deliver, on that quote, what other quotes am I unable to deliver on? Or is there a particular part that's causing this that we can't deliver? So I'm going to take those quotes, and what I want to bring back in this case is what parts on those invoice quotes or on those quotes do we have are we unable to deliver, right? So I have these quotes, we're not able to deliver, what parts are involved? And so now, using Excel Connect 7, whether I'm using the query that we pulled in live, and then I shared it with a remote user, or I'm just re-querying the data because I'm connected live, either way, I can go in and add a new analysis point. So I'm going to use our new query tool. And in this case, this is where we really start to define the type of user, right? So if I'm a remote user, that data is local, right? And I can drill down and create a new report from that local data. But if I have an Excel Connect Live license, I can actually access the data directly from Epicor, right? I don't have to use the local data. And so here I want to bring and open up new information, and you can see all the different data sets. These are all queries that are part of the integration, and I'm going to drop down to our quotes, and I want to see exactly what parts make up the quotes that we aren't able to deliver, right? So I'm going to use our quote opportunity detail, and I actually, instead of, I want to bring back a CSV, which is our parts that are on the actual quotes themselves. So I'm looking at the quote, I want to return the part, and I want to base it on the company, and my company in this case is Epicor 6, right? Or 03. Either one works. I'm going to add the filter. And so this allows me to say I'm looking at the quote, right? 1008. So I'm going to filter by quote. Now all these drop-down lists are pre-integrated. So when you have questions and you're building this, it allows us to go in and say, hey, that's great. Let me pull back the information that I need based on the information I'm looking at. I don't have to know that, I need to look for quote. It actually prompts me for the different items we want to look at. And I just use a cell reference for that. And so now I'm filtering the data, excuse me, by our quote, and I want to return the parts that are part of that quote. And so I'll say, okay, that's all we need, and we'll drop it right in on that cell. And so you see it's going to return the 2 part numbers that are on that quote, right? And if I copy that down, it'll give me the rest of the part numbers that are on each one of those quotes. And that's great, because I know what the value is for each one of those quotes, right? But really what I want is if, these particular parts are preventing me from delivering this quote, what is the total number, total dollars across all my quotes for these parts, right? So what's the part dollars that we've sold across the entire organization? So I know the quotes we can't deliver. It'll help identify parts that are on those quotes. Now, what impact are those parts having across the entire organization? And I'm going to go in and create a new view of that. And I'm going to copy the formula across and just start from the existing formula. And so now, instead of returning part, I want to sum up all of our expected price, right? And instead of filtering by the quote, I want to filter by the part across the entire organization. And that's going to give me a different view, right? Now I want to look at all the parts that are part of that. Okay. And when I do that, that'll give us a much different view. Right, so these 2 parts across the entire organization that are being sold only make up $4,000. Not a huge deal. But when I copy that formula down, the first thing you're going to notice is, holy cow, when I was looking at Scott's information, these are the quotes that Scott was looking at. These are the parts that are on those quotes. But the bigger item here is that, wow, if I look at the part itself, our inability to deliver these two parts is costing us more than $500,000 in revenue, right? And so now that, when we start asking questions, they start leading to new questions, right? And so when I drill down on that information, I'm going to know exactly what part it is. And when I bring that in, we're going to go out and query, bring back that data. Great. So there's the two parts, and there's the extended price that we're losing, right? So really what we've identified, from our initial report is, we started out looking at, CRM data that's coming from a different system, matching it up with our quotes, identifying a salesperson that was missing opportunities, and from that extrapolated he's missing them because we can't deliver the product, and it's these two particular products, and of those two, it was this one in general, right? So now what can I do with that information? Again, Excel Connect, because we allow you to create reports that we can refresh, bring back new data. I could create reports for the manufacturing side as well. And in this case, we use our lead time report to help us identify some of the different things we want to look at, right? So if I want to look at one part or another, if I change the part, it's going to go out, pull back that part, and tell me exactly what part's involved, what the operations are, and whether those are subcontracted or contracted, right? Where in our earlier example, we decided it was that particular part, this particular part, that made up the largest piece of it, and I can see which parts are taking up the most time, right? And so it looks like total production time is tied to one particular item. So now I can go to manufacturing, or the manufacturing person in charge of manufacturing operations can go out and say, hey, I need to maybe look at outsourcing some of this if we need to, right? But what we really wanted to demonstrate is, of course, Excel Connect still is that great financial reporting solution that we've had in the past. But now, being able to work with data not only in financials, but across the entire organization, and not only just Epicor information, the ability to also bring in any other Excel data source as well, allows us to really create some different type of analysis that not only is beneficial from a financial person in the accounting team and the guys that were really working with financial reporting, but now extends the types of users to other pieces of the other areas of the organization, whether it's marketing, sales, or operations in this case, right? Of course, again, we can still do everything we did before with financials, creating income statements and rolling 12-month income statements and consolidating across companies. We're simply going to do that now, not only against financial data, but everything, right? And so when we look at the example earlier, we created the report we did a moment ago. It was very easy to do that. Whether it was going against that manufacturing data, which we looked at a moment ago, or creating that new analysis here as part of that, right? So I'm going to pause a second. So this is some, I'm going to give you a chance, you guys, ask some questions. So one of the questions that came in before we started is this drill down coming from a query? And so thank you for that question. And so the answer is yes. So when we connect to the data, remember we have two types of users. I have an Excel Connect Live user, and I have an Excel Connect Remote user. The Excel Connect Live user has the ability to connect both to Epicor ERP data, which contains all of these queries that we've created across the entire organization database, or the ability to pull against Excel data, okay? If I'm an Excel Connect Remote user, I can only use local data that someone has shared with me. And when we look at the Excel Connect Remote data, you can see that I have a large volume of data that came in the report itself. So it allows me to also do the same thing we did in this demo, but do it disconnected from the database. And the reason why is when we send these reports out, we actually use a new feature set called Pack and Go that's up in our ribbon there at the top. I've got my mouse hovering over it, which actually takes the data that I've created a report with, packages it up, and securely sends it out to an end user. And that end user will now have access to all the different data we built in the report. The live user clearly has access to the Epicor database and all the queries that we've created. So next questions. Are the reports you're showing are preloaded, the lead time on the report? So I'll actually do that for you guys. So in this case, I did preload the report, but it doesn't take a great deal of time. So I'm just going to actually close this out real quick. And so I'm going to launch Excel. And when I want to load that report, I'm just going to go open it up. There it is. Opened it up earlier just a second ago. It's going to open it up. And the first thing you saw the little blinking there for just a moment. It took the data and unpacked it and loaded it inside my report. And now I want to refresh it as an Excel Connect remote user. And it's going to go out and refresh the report with the data that came in with it. So you're going to see real time here, how long it takes to refresh the report versus being preloaded. And it takes just a few seconds to do that, and we'll let it finish up. While it's doing that, I'll address another question. So we do not need to add queries ourselves, unless, of course, we need more than what you offer. And that is an excellent statement. So the statement was we don't have to build queries. We can use your queries unless we want to add new queries, and that is absolutely correct. We don't have to go and create the queries from scratch. We've always provided those to you. And of course, if you have your own queries, we can absolutely use those. Now, some of the fun and exciting marketing material that we're going to include just after our Insights organization, our Insights conference next week, is we've got some great examples. And one of the ones I like the best is how to take your BAQ and make it an Excel Connect data source, right? So we know that there are lots of users out there that have Excel Connect data sources, that have BAQs. Wouldn't it be great to be able to take that BAQ you've created and make it an Excel Connect data source? And so that's exactly what we do. All right. There we go. So we refreshed our report, and that was it's refreshing it real time and bringing it all the way back in, from the SQL side of it. All right. Next question. These preloaded reports or templates, are they available when you purchase the software, or do you have to create them yourselves? And the answer to that is you do not, right? We provide a large grouping of templates. And let me, I'm going to open that up for you, and I'm going to show you exactly what those are, if you like. All right. And I'm going to bring those up in a quick PDF to give you guys a quick snapshot of all the new reports that are part of the Excel Connect 7 product. All right. So there you go. So these are the reports templates that are part of the product when they're delivered. And I'll just scroll down. We're providing some dashboard examples, as well as financial management, materials management, production management, sales management. We tried to identify areas, templates in each of the areas to help guys get started with. So these are all pre-built, part of the product, and when we deliver it, an end user would also get all of these templates as well. Right? And of course, last but not least, once you create all these reports, how do I share them, right? So I'm the Excel Connect Live user, and I've created all these reports. Now what I want to do is I want to be able to share these reports in a couple different ways. One is I might want to share them as a pack and go report to an Excel Connect remote user who would be able to drill down and do everything we showed a moment ago. Or I might want to send it as a PDF. Now what's nice is the broadcast product will allow us to do a couple things. One, if I have a large group of Excel Connect remote users and I want to periodically resend those reports out to those users with refreshed data, new data, I can schedule those, right? And so I can schedule that report to automatically update and send it out to maybe a SharePoint site or a shared folder. And I can schedule it every day, every day of the week. We're going to send those reports out and refresh them out at 4:15 in the morning. So as a remote user, even though I don't have a live connection, I'm using the Excel broadcast product to create a distribution template that will refresh those reports and send them out, right? And if I wanted, I could schedule those to go out as a different type of report, PDFs, etc. And when we do that, it allows us to set them up, send them out, and when the guys open those reports up, they'll get a great view of that report. And here I've ran it just a moment ago. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a sample of what that report would look like as well. So Excel Connect Live user with the broadcast could create a large volume of reports and share those in 14 different formats, including a pack and go report that an Excel Connect remote user would be able to use. And let me give you a great example of what that would look like. All right. And so that's going to be lead status report. And then we'll just run it. And we'll generate that report for us to take a look at. All right. Some of this other questions. So the next question, is this supported for Epicor 9? Unfortunately not. We're going to continue to support all of our Epicor 9 users for the years to come. But all the new latest and greatest and enhancements to Excel Connect will be on the Excel Connect 7 platform. Excel Connect 7 is available starting at Epicor version 10.1. 400 all the way through the current version, which is 10.1 600 that we're currently supporting. We support that for the cloud users as well. Our Epicor 9 users will continue to be able to use the Excel Connect product as it is, and we continue to support that for years to come. Now the next question that I had come up was, what do we do for converting reports? I'm an Epicor 9 user moving to Epicor 10.1. And that's a great question. So one of the things that is really helpful with the new platform is that the new version of Excel Connect 7 and the older version that many of our, more than 1,400 users worldwide are using, actually will run together, right? So you can see where I'm using our reports, and I'm going to cancel the broadcast so I can go back in here real quick. There we go. And we'll show that here. I may have to. There's that button that. There we go. So I want to go in and show how we have the current menu, right? Where we've got our financials, and I've got my general ledger, and we've got our balances where we have the month-to-date net like we have in the past, right? A drag and drop function to create a new report, and that's in our Excel Connect 7 version. If you are an earlier version, or if you want to purchase today for 9, and then when you're ready to move up to 10.1, also use the new Excel Connect 7 product, I can actually run both of those in the same environment. So Excel Connect is our Excel Connect 7. Epicor Excel Connect is the previous version that more than 1,400 users are using today. And I'll show you real quick how we can switch between the two. Right? So that's our current version, Excel Connect, that has our Epicor General Ledger Content Pack, the financial reporting that everybody has found very beneficial. And then, of course, the new product, and I could actually, I have an existing report there. I could actually use an older function from the previous integration and put it right next to a function from the new example, right? So I can run the older product and the new product together. So the nice thing is for those of you guys that still want the functionality we have today for Excel Connect, but with financials, when you could still purchase today, and when you're ready to move to the 10.1, you're able to utilize everything you've built with the previous version of Excel Connect and add to that any of the new reports you're building under the new platform that might contain data outside of financials, right? So that was a great question. I don't see any additional questions that have popped in here just for the last few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and jump back onto our PowerPoint and do some frequently asked questions, and then that'll help us see if we have any other further questions we want to address. All right. Okay. I did have one more that popped in, and we'll jump on that real quick, and then we'll talk about some of the other things that you guys might want to know. All right, so do you have a cash flow section where you can drill down and know where the money is coming from? So we do have cash flow queries, and I'll open one of those just as an example. I don't have an example, I don't think. One of the templates includes cash flow. As an example, but I don't have that template in my environment. I just have the sample report itself. I'm going to go into Excel Connect 7, and by using our query tool, I'm going to go directly to the data set for cash. Let's see. And so cash will do it from the bank statement, the debit notes, balances, the cash document. And those are the columns we're returning. So it's going to be base receipts, cash amounts. That may be a question I want to put to my development team who have written the queries. Unfortunately, I'm not a query writer. I'm more on the financial and the reporting analyst side of it. But I'll ask Lisa to help me connect with the person that had that question. And so we'll make sure that we try to get back to you on that. All right. So with that, we'll talk about some of the other questions that might come up. First, of course, is we do want to make sure we reinforce that self-service reporting and analytics feature set, right? So now, whether you're a business user that's working with data someone sent me, or you're an Excel Connect Live user, a systems analyst that are creating the reports, it's really going to extend what we're able to do with the Epicor data, right? Because now we're able to create our own reports regardless of the license type, and it would just determine how we get that data. So what we're looking at is not only the ability to answer questions, get better decisions, but the analyst is spending a lot less time supporting those business users and more time focused on providing more in-depth analysis for the end users themselves instead of creating more Excel reports. All right, so these are the ones I really wanted to address. So these are some of the questions we know are going to come up. And so the Excel Connect does not utilize any additional hardware. We use we're using direct queries to bring back information into our in-memory cache that help us manage the data sets, but they don't require additional hardware to do that. We don't create a data warehouse as part of that. How long does it take to deploy? The new Excel Connect 7 platform, and this is what we really love about it. An Excel Connect remote user can install in 3 to 5 minutes. Literally, it's as simple as installing an application on your phone. We spent the last 3 years simplifying that platform so that the end users, the business user, would really be able to leverage what we were doing. I felt like in the past, we were kind of limiting ourselves to just the finance and accounting teams. We wanted a larger group, and we wanted to make it easier to deploy. How hard is it to learn? Everything I showed you was pretty much Excel stuff, right? We had the query tool that helps us identify, the information we want to see. Not much more complicated than using a pivot table, to tell you the truth. Some of the same, questions you're asking when you're using a pivot table you're doing in our query tool, just a lot more powerful, right? Because now, a pivot, we're limited to, a single data set that we're looking at, unless you're merging multiple, data sets into a pivot table, which is a whole new level of Excel. But Excel Connect gives you that capability to reach across different data very easily. Great. And then the most important thing is, the large percentage of people that I've worked with, those 1,400 accounts that use our products today, we're using Excel already, right? Most common feature was people taking a BAQ and exporting to Excel, right? So we can absolutely leverage those existing spreadsheets you have. And even better yet, we can leverage those BAQs. We've got a great follow-up education video that we'll share with users that show exactly, hey, we're able to do that. And with that. All right. So the takeaways we want you guys to get out of the conversation today. We know that we're solving this universal problem. I want to say, I don't know, I've probably done 800 demonstrations for Epicor organizations across the past 7-8 years that I've worked with Epicor. And I can't think of one occasion where someone didn't tell me they were creating a BAQ and exporting it to Excel. So this is a universal problem, right? We know people are pushing information to Excel and creating, some type of analysis or report that the organization is using. We can dramatically affect how much time you're doing that and make it a lot more powerful. As we talked about, spent the last few years making sure it was easy to deploy. And the fact that we're no longer just financials, we're reaching across all the different pieces of the database really makes it easier to extend what Excel Connect does. Not only, not only we're that same great financial reporting tool, what we were in the past and still are, but with the Excel Connect 7 product, we're able to extend across the organization. And again, for the guys that are running Epicor 9, we still have the Excel Connect product that's the financials reporting solution it is today, but we give you a clear and defined migration path. So when you move from 9 to 10, 10.1, our reporting tools are going to move with you, and you're able to leverage a lot of what you've done in the past, right? And that's important. So we've got, obviously, Lise helped put this together, and I appreciate that, Ms. Lise. And if you guys are going to be at Insights next week, we'll have a large group there as well, ready, willing, and able to answer questions for you. And of course, any questions that we weren't able to get to, or you felt that were too technical for to type into a question, a Q&A form, please don't hesitate to reach out to Lise. And I'm glad she put this together, and she'll be able to share those with me, and we'll be able to get those questions answered for you. Right. So I've got a few minutes left. I did record this, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and I'm sure we'll find a way to share it with you guys.